Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It is Sunday, April 28th, the year 2019. Let's talk trading, the weekly open and gap. Okay, this month's going to be over. So, for the month, let's make sure these last couple of trading days you use money and risk management on each and every trade. So, in case you lose, you only lose what you want to or are willing to lose. So we've got one gap that hasn't filled so far today. So there's still an opportunity. Remember last week, I think it took that one pair somewhere to like Thursday before the gap filled. And you can see the euro yen opened in the lower wick zone and now is above the lower wick zone by about 8 pips, but 21 pip range. And we're just getting started for the week, so that's where we sit. And looking at the year, you can see here we had 1, 2, 3 closes below that yearly open, and price has crossed over the previous day's midpoint right there. So for the day and the week, which is one and the same right now, we are green, but for the month, we are red. Okay, looking here, we've got here's the opening range so far. We still have a few hours before the day is over to see if we can push this range. But you can see what happened last week. We came through. I think I explained that on Friday, so let's not go through that again. But here was the low of the month right here. The low for the month of the first day of the month right here. And here's the high, first day of the month. So you see here, we came back in to that range. But we're still below the open day one for the month by 7 pips. So who knows? The next couple of days we could close with a green month or a red month. It's up for grabs. Looking at the open first trading day of the month for January, February, you see we just now came above, and here's March way up here, and then here is April. And the high and low, you can see here the day one April low, day one February low. So we're above those two lows. That inside bar trade really proved to be profitable. And as you can see on the weekly, we're coming back into that inside bar. With that monthly inside bar, we're still way below it. So we're not going to be looking for any monthly inside bar trades on the euro yen anytime soon. But let's see, we've got, let's see, the pound Canadian, there's a daily inside bar 2 days ago, pound Swiss franc 6 bars ago, New Zealand USD 6 bars ago, the dollar Swiss franc 3 bars ago, and the dollar yen right now inside bar, just like it's like all the yen pairs here. We got Canadian yen, Swiss franc yen inside bars. But I guess there are a couple yen pairs that aren't in the inside bar. And for the week, we've got the pound Canadian. And once again, we're only about 7 hours into the trading session. So we're still in the Asian Tokyo session, not much range. Euro yen is now in the upper wick zone here. And you see we were putting in a H1 highest open for the week. Lowest open, which is also the same as the daily, but the higher time frame rules, so that's why it's labeled accordingly. And the pivot, well, we opened below the pivot, but the pivot was inside the buy zone here, so not much of a bias, but it did gap down, so taking those two into consideration, the trade was a long trade basically from the get-go. And right now you can see, had you gone long there in the buy zone, it would be a profitable trade at the moment. No rat zone, it's only 21 pips. You can see how they're overlaying. And we took out the pivot. And we've got one missed pivot right here. For April, we still have two open or missed pivots from January, but we cleaned out all those other missed pivots. See, we had a missed pivot here, we had a missed pivot here, one there, one there. We just that move from last week, and we had one here. It cleared out all those missed pivots. So those of you who have faith in the pivots were rewarded by having patience. Price action. One ball at the bottom, green at the line, rest is history. Wick zone. Price doesn't like being in the wick zone. It came in and out. Now it's back in. Let's wait for it to come out. Simple trade screen. No lines have been crossed, so you just have to sit back and wait and see what happens. Tick chart. Once again, if you don't have my tick indicator, which is the 2018 tick chart, you can just hit F9 on your MT4 platform, the F9 function key, and it'll bring up a tick chart just like that. Einstein line. Hope I answered the question about the Einstein line. Somebody had one last week. I do believe I covered that. And we've got a holo set up here. Let's switch that back over to M15. That's what I like looking at. And I think maybe one day this week I will go over, or maybe I can start on it right now, the ATR lines. I've spoken about this before. You can see we've got two instances of the indicator. One for weekly. Now I need to update this, put into the drop-down menu. And then we've got one here for the daily. So we start at the open. ATR, average trading range, or average true range is what it actually stands for, average true range. It's a slightly different formula than just high minus low, but in Forex, they're usually the same. They might be off by a pip, but nothing to worry about. So what do? Using the ATR, this indicator does a couple things. First off, it creates what I call the ATR zone. Once again, if you look here, we start with ATR2, then the indicator is going to cycle through and compute ATR2, 3, 4, etc. up to ATR14. And then what it does is it determines which was the minimum value and which was the maximum value, and then it plots it from the open. So we've got open ATR2, open ATR5, then it creates this zone right here. Now, somebody asked for the ability to put in a multiplier so you can take either a portion of it like 0.5 or 50%, or if you wanted to, you could do 1.5, if you're really looking for something that's extreme. And then you'll get the lines drawn here. So you see here we've got the ATR2, open plus ATR2, which price is already hit. So it's already gone half that. And then the open plus ATR5, which it hasn't quite hit. So the whole idea of the ATR zones is that price has exhausted the move once it hits this zone. But there's something you have to realize. Price can go right through the ATR zone. Unlike the other zones, such as the rat zone, those zones will move. They don't repaint because those are dynamic. In other words, we're trading in real time. So, if something changes, then they have to adjust because they're working off the current daily high and current daily low, just like the holo zone. But this is more like the wick zone. Once these are plotted, they don't move because they're plotted off the open, and the open doesn't move. So you can think of this also like the wick zones, where in the wick zones, we're using the previous candles, open, high, low, and close, or actually top, bottom, high, top, bottom, low, to get those zones. But those numbers are history, so they don't change. So they're static as opposed to dynamic like the rat zone or the holo zone. So if you have any questions on this, I guess the other thing, you can use this as a take profit. Hey, it's exhausted half its range. Maybe you want to take some profit because it could always reverse and make up that range going the other way. So that's one thing to do. Or you can say, hey, if it gets way up here, I'm going to look for a reversal. So you can use this as a way to take profit and exit. You can use this as a way to enter and get into a trade. Some people do one, some people do the other, some people do both. You have to figure out what works best for you. So that's it on the weekly open and gap. Like I said, we've got a couple days this week, then the month will be over. We'll do a monthly wrap up. But in the meantime, just remember, fellow traders, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So let's drain the banks this week, this month.